Okay, here we go. This is John Gonder, and I'm doing a short intro and then a short outro to bracket an excerpt of a lecture from last year. I really wanted to do an update on my Asking Good Questions video because it's really, really important. And I realized I did quite a good section on that last year in the Wireshark class, and so I've pulled that out, and we're going to see that in just a second. And I've created a new PowerPoint to go along with that incorporates the slides from last year's PowerPoint that went along with this particular section of that video. So just a couple things. Remember, this is not rocket science. All it is about thinking about things maybe before you do them and then rereading them with regard to these questions, especially with the mindset of the person to whom you're sending the question, who most likely knows nothing about what it is you're trying to express. So let's go ahead and get to it. Here's that excerpt from last year's Week 2 lecture. And then in terms of writing, just FYI, I do prefer the Oxford comma. I don't care if you use the Shatner column. But more important, and this is going to lead into a discussion about asking good questions. Unreferred pronouns, and here's a link to somebody giving a good talk about unreferred pronouns. What do we mean? Well, what we mean has to do with asking good questions, and Chris Sanders is a really master at teaching people how to ask good questions in order to get good answers, and his work in investigative theory. Notice there's a Asking Good Questions lecture about that, but I'm going to give you the short and sweet one here. Let's see if you can see if there's anything about this sentence that might confuse someone trying to answer my question. Somebody calls you up and says, I logged onto it, then opened it up, and couldn't get it to download. It was incomplete, then it froze. I couldn't close it or open it. What should I do about it? So, my question is, it what? What are all these its? What are they? I have no idea what's going on here, other than apparently there was a problem. I have no way of determining what the information is that I could use to investigate this. These are unreferred pronouns. They're not referred clearly to a close by noun. They're not referred to something that is obvious. Now, the guy who wrote this knew what he was thinking about. When I logged onto the computer and then opened the application up, I couldn't get the file to download. The file was incomplete. Then the application froze. I couldn't close the application or open the file. So what should I do about this problem? So now there I substituted a good noun that's descriptive for the its. This is something that you should never do. So not confusing with no unreferred pronouns would be, I booted the computer, logged into my administrative level user account. Very important information, because if it's not user level, some things will not be available. I opened Firefox, what version? The latest version, and went where? To Wireshark.org. I selected to download Wireshark. Which one? The latest 64-bit Windows version. I could see in the Firefox window, download began, then it stopped. Now that's an it, but download began, then it stopped. So obviously what's referred to is the download. That's not an unreferred pronoun. The resulting file, where? On the desktop, was incomplete. Then Firefox was frozen and would no longer work. I could not close the Firefox window or open a new one. Now, what does the new one refer to? A Firefox window. It's obvious. It's not open to interpretation. Chrome opened, however, so it was Firefox that was frozen. Firefox. It was Firefox. Very clear what the it is. Not Windows in general. Clean, clear, crisp, complete, cogent. So asking good questions is important. Microsoft.com themselves has in this forum how to ask effective questions. When you're talking to people on Twitland that you are following here and you're asking a good question, if you get a good answer, it's because you asked a good question. Smart questions. There's a reason why people here write about how to ask a good question and get an effective answer. And what are your steps involved? Well, read the frickin' manual before you ask. Otherwise, I know some folks, it's really common to really flame a noob on a forum who asks something that is probably in the first page of the documentation, and you really should do that. Then ask in the appropriate forum. You don't want to ask about making a cake in the forum for TCP/IP or vice versa. Use a meaningful subject line so that just with that first few letters, somebody who you're asking an expert to waste their time trying to figure out your problem. Give context, like I did. If it didn't work, you have to say how it didn't work. Now, describe the goal, not the attempted solution. Have appropriate expectations. And if your question is answered, don't forget to follow up, because other people will want to know what that result was, and you're also going to say thank you. So remember to give background. What does the IP config/all show? Remember I said I installed Wireshark as an administrator. Shut down and cold boot afterwards. This is now your first chance to go to the Wireshark forum. It's an important tech skill. Is that question asked and answered already, like I talked about with Piazza? That's the reason for using Piazza, is you don't have to keep asking the same questions over and over again. I don't have to keep answering the same question every semester. Organize and plan your question. Ask it and then see what the gurus say. Here's an example. Here's a question I asked on the Wireshark forum. So here, very succinct, not a word here that's not required. Wireshark version 3.2 has permissions problems for other users. Won't open PCAP's permissions, denied for all three users, and they are admin users. And then I said, zero's the first number. So 0, it's a 2515 MacBook Pro running 10.14.6 with all updates. This was not a problem with previous versions. Wireshark 3.2. Now this is kind of geeky, but that's it. Basically, so I said very clearly, step by step, and then I reinstalled, and the equivalent was the same result. And then I give the error text here at the bottom. Well, it was very clear, and within a little bit of time, I got two answers. One from Gerald Combs, who invented Wireshark, and my information was clear enough to him that he thought very clearly it should be this particular bug. And Jasper thought exactly the same thing. Jasper Bongertz and Alexis, who are other Wireshark developers. So very quickly, I got replies that were very useful. Here is an example of a problem presentation by Jasper. Ran into word capture problems, promiscuous VMware ESXi port groups. So if this is technological information for VMware, so you may not get it, but this is really clear, clean, and precise for somebody that understands VMware. So it's a clear, in the first sentence, presentation of what's going on. And then he clearly says what it was that happened. And again, the result was several people, Richard Baitlich, I could have mentioned to you to follow him. He's another famous guy. But at any rate, got a good answer because it was a good question. So that's the kind of stuff that's going to make you stand out and make people notice you. Okay, now here's a short finish up to that excerpt on asking good questions. There were several great links that were referred to in this, and I would really like you to look at and read these particular links. English teachers really don't talk very much about unreferred pronouns, but in the tech world, as you saw in that video, it is very much a problem, meaning unreferred pronouns. because we know what we're talking about. And when I say, gee, it gave me a problem, I have no idea what it was. It didn't download and then it crashed. I know what I'm talking about. You don't. And again, I can't emphasize how good it will be for you to be following the people that I've told you up on Twitland, and one of whom is Chris Sanders, the person that wrote that book that we've referred to quite a bit in both the Wireshark class and the ethical hacking class, and actually a number of other books as well. Now, I think I'm going to leave that up there, but rename that as my old 2018 bonus asking questions. And this is going to take the place of what I recommend you watch for thinking about asking good questions, which, of course, I'm going to be taking you to task for when you don't ask good questions in my class. And the reason, of course, is I'm not doing you a service by letting you get by with poorly asked questions. What I'm doing that would be a good service for you is to call you on it when you say, oh, I logged into it, opened it up, couldn't get it to download, it was incomplete, then it froze. What up? Because that's not going to work in your career. So reading through things, reading it out loud to yourself to see if is it confusing? Is there any part that would not easily be understood by somebody who is just reading this for the first time? And again, the other links that were referred to in here, if it wasn't important, Microsoft would not take the time and effort to do this. Same thing, these folks would not take the time and effort to do this if it was not important to ask good, clearly understood questions. And it's always good to remember all of these points. This is the kind of thing that's going to make you noticed on a forum. That's going to make you friends with the people who are experts out there who are taking their time to help you and are going to be the kind of people who can help you get a leg up in this career. So there you go. Think about your questions.